With the theme 2023 and Beyond, Priorities for Shared Prosperity, speaker after speaker buttressed the underlying message, the need for socio-economic inclusion.
I also suggest that we address the problem of unequal access to basic livelihood amenities like food, water, roads that foster micro activity and enable produce to get to markets, schools that deliver solid basic education without security concerns, and basic health care. Last, but certainly not the least, we must start to seriously address in a deliberate way how we turn our vast manpower into competitive human capital by bridging the knowledge deficits and skill gaps that will be required for an accelerated future.
We constantly say we have witnessed 7 consecutive quarters of growth, and it is true. But this growth has not permeated to the citizen. The citizen is still buying food in high prices from the market. So we need to look at how we can reduce the high cost of food prices, and that means we need to look at how we can better handle inflation. Because inflation in Nigeria today, the highest push in inflation is the food component. And the food inflation is driven largely by high cost of transportation, which is largely also driven by high cost of energy. So we must address that energy source by diversifying the type of energy that we use, not just even generally, but for transportation.
As Nigeria proceeds into a transition year, delegates here articulate the country's development imperatives required to achieve economic security, social justice, and political stability.
The cost of foreign exchange policy is not something that is understood, it's not scientific, it's multiple exchange rates. Sometimes, because the playing field is not level, let's imagine there are 3 of us in the same business. Well, I have the right percentage. If I get foreign exchange at 450, and I get impatient and sell my goods at 550, 650, the other 2 people with poorer parents have to buy at the parallel market. My activities can bankrupt them. There are Nigerians losing or going out of business, not because they're inefficient, but because an inefficient but well-connected businessman enters their space and they cannot compete with him. So his actions make them bankrupt.
For the country's vice president, Nigeria's rising inflation at 21.3% is cause for concern.
Inflation, for example, needs to be tackled head-on because it is both, as economists will say, a tax on the poor, and of course it disrupts long-term growth. Inflation, as has been said, and I think 1 or 2 have mentioned it, is in our country today is partly structural, arising from infrastructural deficiencies, etc. But then there's an aspect that is also caused by increased money supply, imported inflation, and depreciation of the naira. In addition, therefore, to the monetary measures that have already been undertaken by the Central Bank of Nigeria, we will need to increase domestic production of food, because food inflation, as you know, is a major component of that basket that shows us exactly where our inflation is headed.
Over the next 2 days, attendees will have an opportunity to implement strategies geared towards achieving Nigeria's Development Agenda 2050. Oni Sunday, Arise News.